Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm It's Robbie Rhino, and before we get into the 4 gameplays you'll be watching in today's video, I'd like to announce there is a giveaway going alongside today's video. You have the chance to win either the Tier 8 Czechoslovakian tank destroyer, the SHPTK-TVP 100, or the Tier 8 French light tank, the Vanguard ELC even 90, and 3 runners-up will win either a top secret, a confidential, or a classified keycard. So to enter this giveaway, all you have to do is comment down below with your gamertag and your platform. Please let me know what prizes you are entering for, as you cannot win a tank you already own. The winners will be announced on Thursday the 28th of September at 10 PM GMT, and they'll be posted in the pinned comment on this video, in the description of this video, and on my Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it now, which can be found in the description of this video as well. The prizes will be credited within 14 days, but usually within 7 days. Thank you very much for your support and good luck. So now let's get into the 4 gameplays you'll be seeing, 2 in the SHPTK-TVP 100 and 2 in the Vanguard ELC even 90, to have a sneak peek at what you can win with this giveaway. So thank you very much, and let's enter the first gameplay now. So we are now into the first gameplay of today's video, and we are here on Malinovka in a standard battle, and we are playing the SHPTK-TVP 100. So this is the premium Tier 8 Czechoslovakian tank destroyer that you can win with the giveaway going alongside today's video. I have 2 gameplays for you in this tank destroyer, and then I have 2 gameplays for you in the premium French Tier 8 light tank, the Vanguard ELC even 90, which is the other tank you can win with the giveaway that is going alongside today's video. But first up, we are going to talk about the SHPTK-TVP 100. I'm going to tell you what I like about this vehicle and what you want to be wary of on the battlefield, and I'll also talk you through my commander and equipment setup, how I like to play this vehicle, and hopefully that will help you get the most out of this tank, whether you win it in the giveaway or whether you're just looking for some tips on how to play this tank destroyer. So we're here on Malinovka, which is a pretty decent map for this vehicle as it does have fantastic concealment. It's a pretty long, chunky tank destroyer, as you can see, with an open-topped turret. However, it does have a staggeringly good concealment value for how it actually looks in terms of its sort of size profile. The still concealment rating of this tank destroyer is 333 meters, and with a sort of concealment focus setup like I've got mine down to 245 meters still concealment, so it's very good for outspotting your opponents. You just have to boost up the 370 meters base view range with your setup, and I've got mine up to 442 meters. You only have 1,150 hit points, so not very many hit points at all, but quite standard for a lightly armoured tank destroyer at Tier 8. You can definitely get 1 or 2 shot in Tier 9 and 10 matchups, so definitely be very careful with that indeed. And you don't have any armour, and it takes artillery rounds very, very badly because of that open-topped turret. It does have very nice mobility to get around the battlefield, as you're going to see in these 2 gameplays. You can go 55 kilometers an hour forwards and 20 kilometers an hour backwards, and you do have a fully rotational turret, which is very nice for a tank destroyer with such good concealment. In terms of the firepower on this vehicle, this is where it gets really tasty. It has a 100mm caliber gun with a pretty low 250 alpha damage on its standard AP and its premium heat rounds, and 420 blaze it HP damage if you penetrate with the HE rounds, which are a little bit of a hidden gem on this vehicle because they have 100mm of penetration. So I carry a few rounds to go through lightly armoured targets and definitely boost up the DPM with this vehicle. And the DPM is really the selling point of this tank destroyer, apart from its concealment, because it has fantastic rate of fire. The base DPM with this 100mm caliber gun is 2,585, and with my setup it's got up to 3,445, or 3,545 to be exact, with pretty nice gun handling, 1.3 seconds base and 0.32 accuracy, which you can get down to a very, very nice level with your setup. You do have 6 degrees of gun depression, which is a little bit frustrating on some ridge lines, but you have the concealment to be able to poke up most of the time. And as you can see here, we're firing against tier 10 vehicles and we aren't getting lit up for around 60 to sort of 80% of the time. We're firing with impunity and trying to get our damage out. In terms of the penetration on this 100mm caliber gun, decent 270mm for a premium vehicle, so nice if you don't want to fire many premium rounds at all. And if you do want to load the gold, 330mm full-blooded heat rounds to go through the thickest armor at tiers 9 and tiers 10. In terms of the shell velocity, it's a little bit of a drawback with this 100mm caliber gun. 897 meters a second on your standard AP and those beautiful HE rounds, and 795 meters a second with the heat rounds. So adjust your aim accordingly. Give a little bit more lead than you would with tanks that fire APCR that you're used to. It's sort of tiers 8, 9 and 10. And yeah, you want to make the most of that concealment. You want to boost up your view range, which is 370 meters base. I've got mine to 442 meters. You want to outspot your opponents and try and fire as many rounds into your opponents before they realize where you are, or you want to sort of trade one shot for multiple shots that you put into the enemy. You can fight tier 9 and tier 10 tanks very, very well. As you're seeing here, we are firing at this mouse at around sort of 400 to 450 meters. And when we do have a nice shot on the side of the tank and the side of the turret, we are able to go through with those very, very nice heat rounds. And it's just a very, very nice all-round sort of tank destroyer. If you don't like tanks with low alpha, it's probably not going to be the one for you. You've got to be able to use the DPM and find positions where you are able to stay hidden, hide behind the bushes, hide behind the trees, fall back, and then sort of relocate and try and find those crossfire opportunities. And you don't want to rush in because you don't have any armor. But if you're sort of methodical, you like the tactics of the game, you want to use the vision system in the World War II game mode, this tank destroyer can definitely be the one for you. So what setup do I run on this vehicle? In terms of the equipment, I like to run the advanced concealment, the advanced optics and the advanced loader. And in terms of my commander skills, 6th sense, born leader, rapid loading, camouflage expertise, muffled shot, green thumb, silent driving, steady aim, and snapshot. So in terms of the equipment, concealment and optics are self-explanatory. I want to improve my capacity for outspotting my opponents and staying hidden whilst I'm firing, and you also want to be able to spot for yourself because you get extra XP, and of course you get that juicy assistance, and then you will be climbing your marks of excellence. And in terms of the advanced loader, I'm improving what's already good about this vehicle, the DPM, getting that as high as possible so I'm able to overpower opponents, not with my alpha damage but with my DPM. And in terms of the commander skills, 6th sense and born leader as standard on all of my commanders, rapid loading to help the DPM, camouflage expertise, muffled shot, green thumb and silent driving to help the concealment out. Silent driving is an absolute must in my opinion. Getting into position with that good mobility and being able to stay hidden is a fantastic thing in this vehicle. And then just 2 gun handling skills. I wish you could add more, but the gun handling is already pretty decent. You've already got that 1.3 second base aim time and a 0.32 accuracy. And with my setup, I've got my aim time down to 1.2 seconds and my accuracy down to 0.26. And when you fire as quickly as this, then you definitely can rack up the damage if you find yourself in some advantageous positions. So that brings this game to a close, or almost brings this game to a close, as the last tank does get taken out there. We finish with a victory here in a tier 10 matchup. We finish in the MVP slot with 3 kills, 4.4k direct damage and 477 assistance, 1850 base XP, and that's only a first class. We do lose a little bit of silver without a premium account, but we make it with, because we fired quite a lot of heat. We're in a tier 10 matchup and I was firing at a mouse at over 400 meters, so I think hopefully people can forgive me. That's it for the first gameplay. We're now going to head on into the second gameplay, which is in this tank destroyer again. So we are into the second gameplay of today's video. We are here on Prokhorovka in the SHPTK-TVP 100, and this time it's a more favourable matchup for this tank destroyer. We're now playing against tier 6, 7 and 8s rather than 8, 9 and 10s, and that means that we can be slightly more aggressive in this tank destroyer. However, the beauty of it is that it kind of does well regardless of the matchmaking, because you can use your concealment to outspot your opponents, especially on these large open maps. Like we saw in the last gameplay, we were able to put multiple rounds into a mouse at over 400 meters with the great heat rounds, and he wasn't able to spot us. And talking of not being able to spot us, we're going to put some rounds into this tier 6 A43 at below 250 meters, and he's just not going to be able to spot us. And that's what I mean about being slightly more aggressive in these favourable matchups with this tank destroyer. You're able to outspot people much easier, because not everyone's going to have 9 skill commanders. There's going to be slightly newer players, more inexperienced players, and you can use your concealment, your view range and your DPM to your advantage to really snowball the game, and you're going to see a very fast paced game here on Prokhorovka. Just want to make a passing mention to the tank destroyer who was to my right. I believe it's the Super Hellcat. I feel really bad for nudging him there and probably stopping his retreat, and he does get shot for it, but hopefully we can make it up to him. And we're just going to be sitting back, putting this DPM to work. And as you can see, we've switched to those beautiful HE rounds with that 100 millimeters of penetration, and we are able to absolutely wreck that SU-130 PM there, and using that 420 alpha damage on those HE rounds to good effect. We're already up to 2.7k damage with 2 kills, and yeah, this game is not going to be long before it's over, so we're going to make some very aggressive pushes now. We've got our hit points intact. We're going to go forwards, see if we can use our concealment and our view range to get some more assistance in this game. And as you can see here, the gun handling is so good. Even on the move, when you don't have lots of gun handling skills in your commander, it still works really well, and you can be very aggressive against especially tanks that are looks like they're AFK. Use your mobility to get around the battlefield, and this is going to be one of the quickest games you're going to see on Prokhorovka. You can definitely snowball these tier 8 matchups using your vision on that 1 and 2 line here on Prokhorovka. Get that side cleared, then we can clear the south, and now we're going to turn our attention to the tanks that are situated down the 9-0 line and on that hill. And yeah, that's going to be all she wrote for this game. There's 3 tanks left, and hopefully we can get a little bit more damage in, but I just wanted to include this one because it shows just how dangerous this tank destroyer can be on favourable matchups where you have nice open maps where you're able to use your concealment, use your view range, and use that DPM at a safe distance where you aren't getting spotted all the time. And it definitely racks up the damage that is if you are confident in getting into those positions and you're confident in this gun. This is a very nice 100mm caliber gun, and it does very nice indeed. And we just snapped that shot in there to that Tiger 2 with the great penetration. It goes in. And yeah, that's all she wrote in a very quick game there for the SHPTK-TVP 100. Nice profit with or about a premium account. Only a first class, again with 1776 base XP. 4 kills, 3.6k direct damage, 1500 assistance, and a game that lasted only 3 minutes and 26 seconds, showing you the power of this tank destroyer. Very sneaky, make the most of the DPM, and you'll have a great time if you win this vehicle. But now we're going to head on into the third gameplay of today's video, where we're going to be talking about the French tier 8 premium light tank, the Vanguard ELC Even 90. So I'll see you over there in just a second. So here we are in the third gameplay of today's video, and we are now in the Vanguard, which is the skinned ELC Even 90, the premium tier 8 French light tank. And I'm sure most of you know what this light tank is all about. It's an absolute pest on the battlefield, but we are going to talk about the pros and cons of this light tank, and I'll talk you through my commander and equipment setup and some tips on where I like to take this light tank on the various maps and how I like to play this vehicle. So what's to know about the Vanguard ELC Even 90? Well, as you can see, it's an absolute miniature of a tank. It doesn't have very many hit points, 900, and absolutely no armor, and if you do get hit, you will be losing hit points, and you don't have very many, so you want to try and retain them for as long as possible. You are pretty damn quick, and you are so small that you can be quite hard to hit, which is why it has been known to be such a pest in tiers 8, 9 and 10. However, there are some vehicles that you do have to be wary of, those high alpha tank destroyers, or any kind of high alpha gun really, and also tanks that have the ability to catch up with you, because if you get rammed, yeah, you're going to lose over half your hit points. Pretty much any kind of tank that rams you, even some light tanks. So what's good about the Vanguard ELC Even 90? Well, you have fantastic concealment. Your base concealment is 291.74 meters, and with my setup I've got it down to 222 meters, so very, very sneaky indeed, and that's what you want to use along with your great mobility, 70 kilometers an hour forwards, 20 kilometers an hour backwards, to get into those sneaky positions like we are here, get some vision out. And you just saw me spot out a T-58 heavy in the distance. You just didn't know where we were, and we did manage to get a little bit of damage in on him. In terms of your view range, 380 meters, that can be boosted up quite nicely with a good setup. I've got mine up to 486 meters, and you can play that active scout roll very, very well indeed, as well as that passive scout roll, because of your fantastic concealment. So you want to do everything you can to boost up your view range and take down your concealment, and then your mobility will speak for itself. You have a 90mm caliber gun with this tank. It's a 3-shot autoloader that's capable of dealing 660 damage in 5 seconds from the first shell, because you'd have a 2.5 second intra-clip reload. And the gun is kind of what lets this light tank down. It is basically just an absolute nuisance, very good for scouting. It can distract a lot of the enemy, but this gun isn't a great gun, and you do have to do everything you can to try and make it work on the battlefield. You have 220 alpha damage per shell, 270 with your HE rounds. You have 175mm of penetration on your standard rounds, which is really, really bad for tier 8, which is why I just fire full premium, because the gun is so derpy anyway. I just feel it needs all the love that it can get. And if you do want to load those premium APCR rounds, you're looking at 215mm of penetration, so a really, really poor penetration value on all of your rounds really. The HE only has 45mm as well. You really only want to fire when you know that you can penetrate the tank, if it's a lightly armored tank, or if you get the sides and rear and get up really close to your enemy. And the shell velocity isn't too great on these rounds either, 760 meters a second on your AP and HE rounds, and only 950 meters a second on your APCR. And that's one of the reasons why I fire solely APCR, it's just to get that shell velocity, because if you're firing at any kind of mid-range, you're going to want that higher shell velocity to be able to actually hit your shells. In terms of the gun handling with this 90mm, 2.9 second base aim time, which is absolutely horrific, and an accuracy of 0.38. They've done everything they can to balance this vehicle by giving it a horrific gun, but it has got an autoloader and fantastic mobility and concealment. In terms of the reload for those free shells, 30 seconds. I've got mine down to 24 seconds with my setup. And here's the worst thing about the vehicle, which if you hate tanks that don't have good DPM, you will absolutely hate this vehicle. It's got 1131 DPM as a tier 8 light tank. Absolutely horrendous, and with my setup I've only got it up to 1351. However, you do have 9 degrees of gun depression to use ridgelines. However, the ridgelines have to be absolutely tiny, because you are an absolutely tiny vehicle, and you have 13 degrees of gun elevation. So what do I run in terms of my setup with the Vanguard ELC Even 90? I run advanced concealment, advanced optics and gun stabilizer with my equipment. And in terms of my commander skills, Sixth Sense, Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Camouflage Expertise, Muffled Shot, Green Thumb, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim and Snapshot. So in terms of the equipment, concealment and optics, Pretty self-explanatory there. I'm trying to improve the fantastic concealment this vehicle has, and remember, as a light tank it has the same still and moving concealment. Optics to improve the view range to be able to outspot your opponents and play that scout role very well, passive or active. And gun stabilizer, because the gun does need something to be able to hit things even when you are fully stationary. And in terms of those commander skills, Sixth Sense and Born Leader are standard on all of my commanders. Rapid loading to help the horrific DPM of this tank. Camouflage expertise, muffled shot and green thumb to further help the fantastic concealment. Remember, don't use silent driving as it's ineffective on light vehicles. Situational awareness to further improve the view range, and steady aim and snapshot because you do need to give this gun some love. It's still going to be very derpy, and it's really only to pick up those kills or to whittle your opponents down very, very slowly. The main job of this tank is to be a scout and to be an absolute nuisance on the battlefield with your mobility. You definitely could consider improving the mobility of this vehicle with the equipment, but you'd have to take out probably the gun stabilizer, and then the gun just wouldn't be worth firing sometimes. So I recommend trying to use the gun stabilizer. Try my setup and see how that works for you. But that brings to an end the first gameplay there on El Alamein, where we pick up 3.4k direct damage and 3 kills. We finish in the MVP slot with 1200 assistance. Only a first class mastery. People do play this tank very, very well because it's so damn sneaky. 1821 basic speed and a premium account profit of 60,000, and we even make a profit without a premium account even though we fired full gold because they aren't too expensive. So that's it for that game there on El Alamein. We're now going to head on into the fourth and final gameplay of today's video. So here we are in the fourth and final gameplay of today's video, and we are here in a tier 9 matchup on Dragon Ridge in the Vanguard ELC even 90, and we're going to make our way into position to try and get some early vision on tanks that are heading their way into the north of this map. And on Dragon Ridge you do have to be very careful in a tank like the Vanguard ELC even 90, because you can very easily go off a small ridge and it will completely destroy your tank. So a little bit of patience sometimes with these ridge lines can stop you going back to the garage very, very early on. We're going to do a complete 180 here, sit in this bush, knock that tree down, just in case anyone blind fires. We're going to move forward and then we're going to go back into the bush and try and get some early vision and some shots at this Guardian STG. Now he's going down slope, it'll be hard for this penetration even with the premium round, so we put one into the Progetto 46. Signal that we're reloading, and then we're just going to sit in this bush, hopefully try and catch someone out who is going into the center of the map. And then once we are reloaded, we can either wait a little bit longer or we can try to advance and get some more vision on tanks that are situated along that kind of 6 line where all the heavies like to brawl it off. We're getting a little bit of assistance now, so we're just going to sit in this position. And I was debating whether now to fire on this Jagdtiger 88, and this is kind of the conundrum that you face in the Vanguard ELC even 90. Sometimes you feel like you just want to get those rounds off, but because you have such a low alpha damage and because your main job is to be that scout, if you give your position away, sometimes if someone just snapshots you with a high alpha damage gun, you know, they could one-shot you. This tank is a little bit susceptible to fires, so you do have to be wary of that. And sometimes it's just about that patience, letting your opponent shoot what you spot, and only really firing when you know you can pick up a kill and where you're pretty sure that you won't be spotted, like I was there as we're firing and we take out that G.W. Panther. So now we're in a little bit of a sticky situation with an AAT-60 right behind us, and we're just going to be doing some loops as we do reload. The artillery is gunning for us. Of course, why wouldn't they shoot one of the heavy tanks? Of course, they're going to go for the light tank, but this is kind of what this tank brings out in other players. It's such an absolute nuisance. It can be spotting you, running rings around you, and just being really, really annoying. And if you're coming up against players that aren't the best with their accuracy, you can just get them to miss shot after shot. It's just a balance of playing this aggressive active scout and also this passive scouting as well. Fortunately for us, we are going to miss a shot there from that AAT-60, a very, very dangerous tank destroyer at tier 9. And now we're just going to be doing zigzags, playing this active scouting role, and as soon as this AAT-60 gets taken out, I should be able to advance a little bit further and I won't be continuously spotted. But I want to stay below this dip so that I don't get shots from those heavy tanks that are above me. And I'm just going to be going in zigzags across this open ground. The artillery's doing good work on this AAT-60 and hopefully he'll be taken out pretty soon. We've got re-stealth, so we can quickly use the handbrake, turn around, see if we can poke around here and spot this AAT-60, and if we can get him taken out, like I said, we can advance the pace of this game. However, there's a beautiful a chance for us now to be able to get a shot into that Astron Rex. Unfortunately, he kind of just lurched forward, then stopped, and we missed our first shell, and then we just decided to go for that reload. And whilst we're reloading, we're going to be making our way around this AAT-60. I was hoping to avoid getting spotted there, but we did get spotted. He gets taken out by the TNH VZ51, and now we can continue our advance further into the open ground. And as you can see, we're taking rounds from here, there and everywhere, and we are just managing to evade quite a lot of them. The artillery again is gunning for us, so going to be going as quickly as possible. We take a shot there from the Peugeot 46, but we are getting some nice juicy assistance. We're just being a pain in the enemy side, a thorn in their side, and I was very, very lucky there not to jump off that ridge into another ridge and destroy myself. Just going to continue this active scouting role, trying to get as much assistance now as possible, and then once this sort of open field has been secured, then we can advance on this Malchen, and then hopefully we can go hunting the other tanks that are trying to attack our base. So we're going to go the long way round, and then we're going to come up to this Malchen, sit next to him, and he's just not going to be able to press his gun over the sides to shoot us. And that's the beauty of this tank. You can get up behind things like the OHO or the Type 4 or Type 5 Heavy, Maus, E100, and they just can't get their gun down. This Malchen sitting pretty on this hill. We're going to keep up the vision on him, but we're also going to go up alongside him. I fire way too prematurely there. The poor penetration of this light tank's never going to do good there. And yeah, put 2 into the side of him, and now we're just going to sit alongside him. And hopefully we will be able to reload and get a shell into him. But the Malchen finally wakes up, realises that I am alongside him, and of course he's going to go for me because I'm the one that's basically taking the mick, aren't I, really, sitting alongside him. He puts one into us, and yeah, he absolutely decimates us and breaks our gun. Fortunately, now we do just go forward in time to miss a shot from that Chrysler K in the distance, and now we're going to have to try and go down this slope very, very carefully indeed so that we don't kill ourselves. And now we can come up behind this platoon and hopefully get some more damage in this light tank. And sometimes you're going to have these games where you're just not dealing that damage because this gun is horrific and the DPM is horrific, but you just want to try and get as much assistance as possible, be that nuisance, and try and make those breakthroughs with your vision and with your mobility and your concealment. It's quite a fun tank to play. The gun can be frustrating, I will admit, but yeah, it's a fun tank to play. You can be an absolute nuisance to the enemy, and it is quite enjoyable when people aren't able to spot you and you're just sitting in a bush around sort of 100 to 200 meters away from them. And here on Dragon Ridge now, with these 2 tanks left, I'm just going to zip round the corner and hopefully I can be the one to get the last couple kills or a little bit more damage. We take out that stockade as he's turning away from us, and then we put 2 into that Chrysler K. I tried to track him, but unfortunately with a low caliber gun it isn't going to work. However, we still finish in the MVP slot there with 2 kills. That's a Scout Patrol medal, I think, there. 2050 damage, 2.8k assistance, a profit with or without a premium account, and yeah, a 7 minutes 6 second battle. Pretty fun. You can be very, very effective when you're playing the scouting role. You can get a lot of spotting for your team, snowball these games, and yeah, it's a pretty nice tank to add to your collection. So once again, thank you all so much for your support. Sorry for the delay in this video. Had some hospital appointments in the week. Hopefully I can play some more over the weekend. Good luck if you enter the giveaway, and yeah, until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield, and bye for now.